All right, and we are live. Hello, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us again. Today is going to be explosive, to say the least. So, everybody, for those of you that don't know who I am, I'm Kaylin McDonald. I'm the Sphere Being Alliance social media manager, as well as a co host on the new Sphere Being Alliance YouTube channel show, Cosmic Table Talk. We're going to jump right in today because we have got a lot to discuss with a pretty fascinating guest here. I have John DeSouza, the X-Man. Hi, John. How are you?
Hi, Kaylin. Oh, it's great to be here with you. So happy. And I am doing great. Great. Thanks.
Awesome. So John was is obviously in the Cosmic Secret because he's agreed to join us on the Cosmic Secret Facebook Live series. But John was also in Above Majestic. So John, I'm just going to give you a second to give a quick introduction of yourself, your background, and then we'll jump right into some of the topics that you covered in the Cosmic Secret. So I'll let you take that away.
Sure. I am John DeSouza. I was a special agent in the FBI for 25 years. During that time, I did a lot of counterterrorism cases and also some paranormal cases, which I talk about always everywhere that I go. Well, what I can talk about, I talk about. And it was just a great thing to be able to participate in Cosmic Secret and share some of these experiences and all of these things that show us, that illustrate for us that reality is not what we are shown that it is, that reality is something much greater, and that we just need to really get ourselves into a frame of mind where we can see things that we're not supposed to see. And that's it.
Perfect. And that'll send us right into the Cosmic Secret. So, the Cosmic Secret opens up with the 12 trumpets heard around the world. And something you and I have discussed briefly was extra dimensional incidents that prove that the material world is a floor, not a ceiling, meaning that it's the beginning of what is real, not the end. So, can
Exactly.
you kind of expound on that a little bit and maybe discuss the 12
Yeah.
trumpets heard around the world as well?
Yeah. Cosmic Secret is just an amazing work. What Roger Richards did here is just it's just astounding. And for people who don't know, it opens up with the 12 trumpets heard around the world, and the and this is a phenomenon that a lot of us know is actually happening. It actually happens in real life. People will just be, and this happens all over the world. It's amazing. People on other continents and in the United States will just be, there'll be some major city just going about its business, and suddenly there'll be these trumpet sounds, like deep booming trumpet sounds that come from the sky, and nobody knows what causes them or what's the reason for them. And there's a lot of speculation, of course. Religious people and paranormal people also have their speculations on what it is. But the thing that Roger Richards shows us is that no matter what you think it is basically an announcement of the changing of the age. That's what we're facing. That's what we're looking at here. And that's the point of Cosmic Secret, to show us the spiritual side of this transition, and also educating us about what has come before in the ancient world and in the extra dimensional world as well. All of these things that are coming together to show us that our current paradigm is completely changing, where it's completely changing. And we're coming to a point where these extra dimensional experiences that we can see, that we can see if we look for them, if we pay attention to things like Cosmic Secret, because the stuff is not going to be reported on the news, folks. It's not going to be reported in the mainstream. You're just not going to get it. One of the things I do in all my presentations is I show people, as I did in Cosmic Secret, I show people some of these shocking events that have occurred, like, for instance, the extra dimensional portals that have been appearing above the cities. Talk about the trumpets. In addition to the trumpets, there have been these portals that have been opening up over major cities like New York City and others around the world. And what we've had happening is, and I show people this on video, and people are just shocked. How could this not be reported on the news? How could it not be reported by someone? Well, I mean, it is reported, but it's reported in their paradigm. They report whenever these extra dimensional portals, these portals open up over the cities. They report that transformers blew up in the city and caused this to light up the sky. And when I show people what really happened, they're absolutely shocked. They're absolutely shocked, because when transformers blow up, they blow up yellow, and the portals that appear are light blue, yellowish. And so they light up everything in the middle of the night. And this happened in New York City in December 20, I think it was like 28th, December 28th of last year. At 2 a.m, it lit up the entire sky, light blue at 2 a.m. People are screaming. The cell phone videos are still up. They're still up on YouTube, and people can't go see them because people were filming the portal in the sky, and they were going crazy. They They were screaming, and this is stuff that's happening right now. It's not 1947 Roswell and things like that, because we have things happening right now that are amazing and that we're not paying attention to. And so this is part of the reason for Cosmic Secret and for all of our participation in Cosmic Secret.
And we are so grateful for that as well. And I wholeheartedly agree. What Roger created, and it's been discussed on a few of our other interviews on this series, is he was just able to bring such a collaboration of connecting dots. Like, we are dot connectors, right? Because like you said, no one's going to do it for us. In fact, quite the opposite. There's actually operations engineered to, you know what I mean, to oppose us understanding and connecting these dots. So what he was able, his gift to the world, and your gift to the world, and everybody's participation in the movie, is to be able to hand a finished product to the rest of humanity and say, from Australia to New York City, all of these dots are connecting. Different faiths, different beliefs, different systems, but all of these have a common thread, and it's to shatter the paradigm. So I love that you bring up that point, John. Thank you.
Absolutely, yeah. And one of the other things that is revealed in Cosmic Secret is that we are facing, in the near future, we are facing some what you would call apocalyptic events, but they're not really apocalyptic events, because the main event that is coming is our ascension, everyone's ascension. And well, not everyone, because one of the things that we show in Cosmic Secret is that the elite powers in control, that's what I call them, the cabal, the elite powers that dominate the nations and that believe that they're always in control. These powers, while we will be ascending, they will be descending. So one of the punchlines of Cosmic Secret is that these elite powers in control have their underground facilities that are ready for them and for their assistants, their minions, and so forth. And they because they have been told by the malevolent, let's put it that way, malevolent alien entities that work with them. They have been told about these apocalyptic events that are coming. And so they have chosen to descend rather than ascend. And they are, and that's
quite literally,
what we're
they're
talking,
going down underground
into the earth. And that has been prophesied by nearly every sacred text, that this would be happening. And in the Bible, it says that the great men of the earth will fall upon, in the light of Christ's in the light of Christ's presence, they will fall into the earth and they will cry out for the rocks to cover them. Please cover us, rocks,
Wow.
from the gaze of the Christ return. So it's also, like I said, in every other sacred text as well, that this would be happening. So they are choosing, and they are giving out those golden tickets, and all the golden tickets are taken up. And so they believe that they're all done. But we are in a different process. We're in a process of ascension, which will be occurring at the same time. That has also been prophesied, because Christ also said to us that the way you see me go, you shall go also. You shall go also. So, these are things that just line up and juxtapose to cosmic realities that are coming up. And everyone in the Cosmic Secret has their own different piece of this same reality. Like for me, I have the investigative piece,
right?
Because that's my specialty, and that's what I do. And we need to realize that every aspect of the modern world is going to be involved in this synthesis, this ascension and descension that is coming up. Every aspect. So we're talking political, we're talking economic, we're talking on the ground reality. And so that was something that we dealt with more in Above Majestic, where Roger dealt more with the political systems and economic systems that'll be changing over as well.
Yes, and one point that I wanted to go back to is how you said you kind of illustrated how everybody in the Cosmic Secret, and this would be true for Above Majestic as well, comes from a different place, has their own specialty, which I think is such a beautiful representation for humanity, because not everybody is ascension woo-woo spiritual, and not everybody is political black and white analytics, and then there's a whole humanity in between both ends. So I think that's one of the things that I love about the approach of Above Majestic and the Cosmic Secret, is that there really is something for everybody. And I don't think Roger or anybody's intention was ever to shove anything down somebody's throat and say believe all of it. It's here's what we have found, take what works for you, leave the rest. And there's enough rabbit holes for all of humanity. There really is. And it's really just about the purpose is to question what we've been told, question what we've been programmed, and everybody do their own research. So I think that it's such a beautiful compilation, that micro and macro.
Absolutely. And in my piece of it, which is the investigative piece, I will always argue is particularly important, because if I can shamelessly self-promote for a
Absolutely.
moment, because my piece of it is so important, because we are currently living in a 100% complete deception society, where all information is deceptive, all data is deceptive, and we are exposed to it, no matter how removed we try to be from it. And because of that, we have so many things going on in the background that are complete, because they are complete deception. You need a method, you need a way to be able to penetrate that deception, to just know the most basic things that are going on around you, what's really happening, because what's being presented to us is absolutely not what's happening. And when we see this this theater of Democrats versus Republicans, and whatever the latest entertainment show is being shown to us, or what the latest news report is, what's gone on, what happened yesterday, what happened in California, what happened with all the fires, what's going on there. It's all deception, and we have to live in that world no matter how removed we think we are from it. And so because of that, it's just important to just have some kind of interpretation, investigative interpretation that can help us to penetrate that reality and see what's really happening.
I wholeheartedly agree, John. And we've worked together before on Dimensions of Disclosure and now the Cosmic Secret. And I think that your body of work is so critical, truly. And I'm so grateful for your purpose and your mission. Because the investigative side does lend to, part of that 100% deception paradigm is this incessant need for proof. We don't trust ourselves yet because we are so unempowered at the moment. We're getting there, but we have purposely not been taught how to trust our own resonance and trust our own, faith and all of that stuff. So your body of work is a really good stepping stone to get the rest of humanity from being told how to think, you know what I mean, to being shown this deception and breaking out of it. And then on the other side are those empowerment tools, and I think you're so good at what you do, for all of those reasons that I think your body of work is critical right now.
Yeah, because one of the favorite things that cabal minions and I'm sorry to say scientists will always attack people in this area with is, where's your proof? Where's your proof? I want to see rock solid proof. I want to see this. I want you to prove it to me. I want you to force me to believe, is really what they're saying.
Right.
And that's impossible. We can't do that, and we shouldn't play that game because first of all, they don't really know what proof means. Most people don't know what proof means. They think that proof means something you can get into a test tube, you can send to a bunch of guys in white lab coats in a laboratory, who then will tell you further what's true and what's not. That's not what proof means. Proof means anything that makes a proposition more or less likely to be true. Even a bare assertion can be proof. It's just a question of weight. How much weight does it have?
Right.
So people need to learn what real proof and real evidence means. When we have Betty and Barney Hill telling us what happened to them in 1961 in Massachusetts on the New Hampshire border, where they were abducted, even they may not have any physical proof, but just their declarations,
right,
because of who they are, because they were people of tremendous integrity and truth and forthrightness, their statements are considered proof. And you may, and someone, and a scientist or someone may wish, or a cynic may wish to say, oh, but they were kooky, so their statements don't add up to anything. But that's not true. If you look at their background, you look at what they did, you look at the fact that they were authentic people who never sought gain, all they sought was to share their story in case it could help other people. See, that's evidence. Human authenticity is probably the most valuable kind of evidence that there is. The same way you have with Travis Walton. Who had very little physical evidence of his event in 1975 in Sitgreaves National Park, where he was abducted by a flying saucer vehicle for 5 days, and he disappeared and he wasn't able to bring back physical evidence of what happened to him. I mean, other than marks on his body and things like that.
Right.
But his persona, I mean, he took a bunch of lie detector tests that he passed, of course. So did his witnesses, and he had many witnesses as well. But it's his authenticity as a human being that really makes his evidence valuable, because for number one, because he has, over a course of like 40 years, has never deviated from the truth of every single statement that he said happened that night and during that period. Never once, despite enormous pressure to recant, enormous pressure to change his story. Mm-hmm. And the same for his witnesses too. See, that is valuable. That is the highest, I would argue, the highest value proof there is that kind of human authenticity when you can find it. And so that's what I would argue is the most important thing for people to understand what proof and evidence is, because they love to say, oh, here's another statement that cabal agents love to say. They love to say, great claims require great proof, great evidence. And that is precisely not true, because no great accomplishment or great claim could ever have been made if it required great evidence at the get-go. It just, nothing could ever have been accomplished.
Right.
Thomas Edison claimed that he could create a light bulb, an electric light bulb working off of a filament. He claimed that he could create one way back in the 1800s based on what? Based on 9,999 failed experiments to be able to do so. That was his evidence. That was his claim. Right. If he had been working with a big corporation, he would have been kicked out the door because great claims require great evidence, and 9,000 failed experiments are not great evidence. So that's my point, is every great claim does not require great evidence. It just requires some evidence, just enough to survive motion to dismiss. That's all it requires. So these are things that we need to educate people. We need to educate especially the scientific class, the people who use science not as a method, which it's perfectly appropriate to do, but use it as a world view, because science as a world view is a total fraud, absolute fraud, and it leads us to wrong conclusions in so many cases, and that's one of the things that keeps us because they have orders to keep us in this paradigm, in this locked in this fake matrix of nothing is real, nothing miraculous can be real. That's their assignment, and that's what they do, and yet scientists and NASA in particular, we have an ever-present reminder that we see once a month everywhere on the earth, that this paradigm is not purely physical and material. That reminder is the full moon that we see, because the moon, and people can look this up, people can research this. The moon faces us with the same face all the time, even though it should be rotating, a natural rotation, right, so that every side of it is exposed to the earth. Well, for some reason, the moon is always facing the earth with the same side, and the same side is always dark on the other side. And it rotates in a way, but it doesn't rotate completely. And you can ask, how is that possible? Well, it's not possible under the natural laws of physics that the moon is the only planetary body in the universe that doesn't have a natural rotation. See, that shows some kind of intelligent plan there. Something is happening there. And will scientists or NASA answer that for us, or even approach that question? No, they won't say a word about it. Never. They never will. Why? Because there is no answer. There is no answer. So that's similar to when scientists mapped out the DNA structure back in, I think it was like back in the 90s or the millennial years. They mapped out the DNA structure, and they discovered that all of our physical bodies are answered in 1% of that DNA strand. 1% of that DNA strand shows all of our physical characteristics that we have right now, and answers everything about our bodies in 1%. So what's the other 99%? Well, science didn't want to let us break out of this paradigm, the materialist paradigm. So what they say, they had to say, oh, it's a junk DNA.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Go back to sleep. It's junk DNA. It doesn't have a purpose. It means nothing. Really? So 99%, about 95, 96% of our DNA structure means nothing. Well, of course it doesn't mean nothing. It relates to our lives and our bodies after this life, obviously. that's what the rest of the DNA structures relates to. And so, but they don't want us to explore that. They don't want us to look into that. So they created the entire junk DNA structure for us to swallow. And we can't go along with that sort of thing. We have to be able to step back and say, hold on, I'm going to investigate this on my own. Since there's no investigative journalists anymore, that stopped, like 30 years ago. Since there's no scientists that are allowed to actually seek knowledge, instead scientists are in charge now of stopping knowledge, of putting a cap on knowledge and telling us, you can't go any further than this. You just have to follow the data. And if the data runs out, you can't go any further. That's their business now. And we need to show each other, teach each other methods so that we can break through that and we can see what's really happening.
I think you bring up one of the greatest points that needs to be discussed in the whole research, investigation, discernment, disclosure, humanity as a whole movement, is that like anecdotal evidence and trusting ourselves again. And I mean, because again, it's always going to go back to what was engineered in this deception paradigm, right? So, I mean, just engineered to not trust each other, to not trust ourselves, right. That humans are inherently, I mean, if you believe, and we did for a long time, and there are plenty of people that still do, if you believe that humans are inherently untrustworthy, and deceptive and always have an agenda, you know what I mean? Then what a brilliant way to suppress the information. Because I mean, I've always said the term conspiracy theory is one of the most brilliant psyops ever enacted upon any planet, because they don't even have to do the work anymore. We do the work for them, because now when we hear about trumpets blaring or portals opening or abductions, they don't even have to cover their own tracks, because as soon as somebody comes out on the news or puts something up on YouTube or talks to a family or friend, we tell them they're crazy. You know what I mean? We suppress the information ourselves. And if people don't respect the brilliance of that operation, that's a whole other road we're going to have to go down. But, exactly. So really just bringing back the inherent goodness of us as humans, as individuals, as a collective, and bringing back our trustworthiness and bringing back, the ability to listen to one another and support one another when things happen, instead of automatically assuming that there's some nefarious agenda behind our stories, I think is a brilliant thing to highlight. And I'm personally very grateful that you did.
Yeah. And people need to be wary whenever they see someone in this community or any alternative community being attacked by members of the same community. And when you see these attacks, I myself, when I see those attacks going forward, it makes me think, wow, well, this person must really have something good going on in their material, because for them to be so viscerally attacked and gone after by so many people, it really means we need to go look at their material and say, wow, what are people so afraid of? What are they so scared of? Because that's when you attack, is when something scares you. I mean, look at the material from Q, which is this military intelligence source that is working with the White Hats to try to give us information about what's going on and what's happening, and how it is being attacked. It is being attacked by mainstream media because they have such a fear. They have so much fear of Q and the QAnon people who are trying to spread this information and help people to understand what's really going on.
Exactly. And Q is information, that is the number one, that's public enemy number one to the opposition, is information.
Right. And, and if people would exercise their common sense, they would say, it's just information. What's the big deal? Why are people attacking? Why are people so scared of information? They shouldn't be. And the same is true with those of us in this community who put out stuff that's controversial and that are just relentlessly attacked. To me, it shows the hand of the cabal
Yes.
and the people who are their minions that are working towards this. And another thing that is going on also is this massive disinfo operation of fake disclosure, that is working together with mainstream media,
Mm-hmm.
where you see these people who suddenly are appearing on CNN and Fox News, and they've got this multi-million-dollar publicity campaign going forward to take over ufology, basically, and
Right.
to take over the entire issue. And of course, as with all evil conspiracies, we see a bunch of CIA officials involved with that. And one of the things I learned as an FBI agent is how much harm the CIA has done over and above any other organization against the American people. If anybody has any question about that, just look up Operation Northwoods. Operation Northwoods. This is an organization that I believe will eventually is going to be abolished when we go forward. But anyway, presence of CIA officials is always a big, giant tip-off to the common sense of any investigator that this is a disinfo operation that is going forward, massive. And so these are things that we need to look at. These are things that show themselves to be fake, to be false. And so we need to be on the lookout for that kind of thing as well.
That's excellent, John. Thank you so much. And just for the audience members, I will have a link to Operation Northwoods in the post here shortly. So I'll get all of John's information too as well. So you guys will be able to look that up after the interview. There's so many questions I have.
So much stuff, Kaylin.
I know
so much stuff. So many directions you could go in.
Yeah.
I know, right?
Yeah.
That's what I say. I could do an hour with you on any one of these aspects.
I will agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Well, let's bring it back to, because I know one thing we had discussed earlier was, so in the Cosmic Secret, and this kind of ties into a little bit of proof, but I really like this proof because it's very, it's very anecdotal, and it's very, it leaves room for multiple interpretations. So everybody from all facets can kind of take this where it goes, but it's still information that they can then use to discern from. So the Indigo Kids of 9/11, you brought that up in the Cosmic Secret. Can you explain a little bit about what that is and kind of maybe what your ultimate conclusion was personally with that?
Yeah. The Indigo Kids of 9/11 was the incident that was just wide-ranging, massive incident of the paranormal in law enforcement, which actually ended up converting a lot of law enforcement officers into paranormal believers, if that's the right term. I don't know if that's the best term, but and it's basically, it was just what occurred in just the days and weeks just before the 9/11 terrorist attacks in New York City, which was just all of these little kids that all over the country, basically, and they were very young kids who had experiences of 9/11, predictive experiences of 9/11 happening, that it was going to happen in the following few days. And these kids expressed themselves in paintings in class, in finger paints, in arts and crafts. They would create, or just on the playground, drawing in the sand. And the teachers would tell them, what are you doing? And the kids would just say, oh, I'm making these two buildings and they're on fire. And these are the people jumping out of the buildings, which is when the adults would say, wow, that's really odd, really strange, but they wouldn't think anything more of it until the next day, 9/11 happened. And then the FBI set up all these intelligence centers that said, report everything to us. Let us know everything that's occurred. And people did. people reported these little kids and their experiences, just in case like their families could have a connection to terrorism. Maybe these kids
Sure.
learned about the plan and repeated it back in their own ways. So that's why we had to interview and talk to all of those kids. And to me, in every single one of those cases that I looked into, it was found to be no connection to terrorism. So those cases, those had to be closed out with negative results. But to me, it was also evidence of this remainder of humanity in every segment of people who express these abilities, these powers, like the Indigo Kids. The Indigo Kids, they have abilities, and many of us in these communities were actually Indigo Kids growing up, whether we know it or not. And so that's something really interesting. But I also want people to be aware that the cabal also has a great interest in identifying Indigo Kids and and adults who have abilities, who have this connection to extra dimensional reality. And so they run around and they buy information. They buy information from organizations, and they get the bio data so that they can know who these people are and have it ready for them, and have it ready for when the time comes, because they have a belief that, and the cabal is getting information from malignant entities the same way we get information from entities that are of the light.
Right.
But they believe that these individuals, these indigo children, indigo adults, are going to light up at some point with extraordinary increase in their abilities, and that is what they're concerned about. That's why they need to always collect information on these people and get what they are. They even collect UFO reports. When you go to one of these big organizations and you report on UFO contacts or alien visitor contacts, that information very often is sold to these cabal related organizations, and that is kept so that they can know who these people are. Because they have a belief that these people are going to light up in the future, like gun registration. You have to register the guns so you know where they are, so that when it comes the time that you can send people out and collect them, scoop them all up. And that's very important for us to be aware of that.
I think that's critical information for humanity to be aware of. Um, I wonder, do you personally know of, or do you have kind of your own analysis of how either people with these abilities or parents that are starting to recognize these abilities with their children, do you feel that there's a way to protect their identity, to protect our identity, the information? I mean, is it one of those, it's been happening so long, that's how it is? Or do you think there's a way that we can protect the indigo children and adults that you're referring to?
I think the best way to protect those identities and the information is not to get involved with any of these large organizations that collect your info, and that want to know what it is. We need to withdraw from those institutions, not give them information. So that's the best way, really, to protect that information on the Indigo Kids. Right now, one of the big crazes, most ludicrous things I've ever seen in my life is this 23andMe kits.
I knew you were going to say it. I was thinking it too.
Where people will voluntarily send away for this kit to give their DNA information to some company that is related to all the cabal companies, and that is going to have your DNA material. And because you want to find out what your ethnic heritage is, I guess, that's ludicrous. That's absolutely ludicrous to hand over because you're handing over your DNA material to the most malevolent actors in our society.
Yeah.
And just so that you can know who you are, you know who you are. You should know who you are. If you don't, find out from your relatives. Do not use these kits that are sharing your most sensitive, giving away your most sensitive information with actors who are going to use it against you at some point. People should see the docu-series, The Making of a Murderer, uh, showing, I forget the guy's name, showing the most famous frame ups of guys who the authorities just decided to say he did the murder. He murdered this person, and they used his blood that they had on file. They used his DNA material that they had on file to plant it at the scene. And if you start watching some of these docu-series, that happens much more often than people would ever care to guess. So you got to be careful with your most sensitive stuff. You have to be very careful with your DNA material, especially.
Yes, no, absolutely.
I shouldn't even have to tell people that.
No, it's true. But for any audience members that maybe have already sent that in or have family that have done that,
No, stop them.
Yeah, I know. It's like a personal mission of mine. I throw shoes at the TV when I see their commercials come on. So, again, like, here's another part of the deception matrix, right? We don't trust each other, but we trust these corporations because there's a fancy, flashy commercial, and because we see it, it's trending and everybody's doing it, so it must be safe. But also, an even deeper disconnect is we don't understand how precious our DNA is. You know what I mean? Because again, like you pointed out earlier, you only use 1%, 99% of it is junk. They even termed it junk. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they didn't say obsolete. They didn't say unnecessary. They said junk, and they branded it.
Garbage, trash, exactly. Garbage, sewage.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's a disinfo. That's mind control technique.
It is.
To that's got CIA all over it, because that word is used to make you feel disgusted and to make you feel like, oh no, I'm not going to look any further into this. It's garbage. It's junk. It's trash.
Yep.
And that's what they want, So anyway, that's just my opinion based on how extreme the language is in that scientific disinfo operation.
Yeah. Yes, and they're very good at it. They've been doing it a long time. I don't think we're the first, probably, or last planet that has had this, a similar type of occupation. So now, for any of our audience members that maybe this is the first time hearing this information about 23andMe, and I'm not sure if Ancestry.com does the swab type thing, but just so you know, please look into, there is more information online as far as not sending your DNA into any corporation ever, and what they're doing with these. And if this is the first time you've heard it, don't beat yourself up if you did it. Just don't do it anymore.
Right. Exactly.
And now tell everybody else not to do it.
Right. And, Kaylin, you and I, our DNA is already with big institutions. You were in the military.
Yep.
I was in the FBI. Right. So they have our
Mm-hmm.
DNA material at those organizations. But it's like, but there's nothing we can do about that.
No.
We can't take it back. So, but we know, like you just said, but just don't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Don't do it anymore. That's all we can do, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, none of us are impervious to this awakening process. All of us were one way once, and now we're this way now, and it's a journey. So, for sure.
Yeah, and I'm hoping my DNA stuff disappeared from the FBI somehow. And
I know, right? The Army wasn't really great.
Hopefully yours did too.
Yeah, the Army wasn't really great with keeping things. So.
Exactly. So I'm figuring it'll work out.
It fell off a truck somewhere, I'm sure.
I'm hoping.
Yeah. Well, let's see. So So one thing I want to bring up the above majestic a little bit because so a common topic across these live interviews has been the combined message of above majestic and the cosmic secret. And I think that you have done a beautiful job of describing kind of the mission and the purpose behind the cosmic secret. So with above majestic, everybody pretty much knows now. Above majestic is the 1-2 punch. Like it's a lot of the darker information, its purpose, and I believe it was Roger that said this, its purpose was to come in and shatter the paradigm. You know, it was supposed to leave you unsettled. It was supposed to jar you and wake you up. But some of the things that you discussed in Above Majestic, like the fires in California, mass shootings in America, even some stuff about the presidential election, a lot of those are almost more prevalent today than they were, you know, in 2018 when Above Majestic came out. So I just want to switch gears to kind of let you speak on your material in Above Majestic and how it's relevant today.
You know, Above Majestic shows us, it showed us a lot of the boots on the ground kind of information where we talked about the economic systems, the political systems, and how these are going to merge into the ascension process, because we can't be, and this is why I love Roger and his group, because he is unafraid to take on this discussion, whereas I mean everyone I've seen won't come near the discussion of the political. And the reason is because people have been trained that the political system is real, and it's not. It's not. And mostly, and I tell you, it's an imposed system. It's a theater that has been imposed on us. What is real in it is the struggle for human rights, the struggle for humanity that is going on right now, because we are in as we talked about in Above Majestic, we are in a global war right now. We are in a global war, and it is going on. It's been going on basically since the cabal destroyed the Twin Towers in 9/11 using breakaway technology. It's been going on since that time, and basically we are facing a world where the White Hats alliance, what we call the White Hat Alliance. That's a good way to describe them, which is basically a bunch of political populist leaders all over the world, and generals, and also American generals, and retired American generals as well, who have come together, and at their head is who? It's Donald Trump. He is at the head. He is the tip of the spear of this group, and they are fighting. But Donald Trump is a very small part of it. He's just the tip of the spear of this group, and he is, because this group is worldwide, and they're getting new people joining them, political leaders. Every day, new political leaders are joining them and defecting from the cabal,
right?
And they are fighting to overthrow this cabal system that has dominated the United States directly since 1918, when they established the Federal Reserve over us, and the IRS, the income tax as well, which that's all part of the same thing. That's part of having us in the debt slavery model, debt slavery system that we're all caught up in, where that keeps us encapsulated, keeps us concerned about money, concerned about earning a living, because all of the money is, American money is diminishing in value all the time. And so that system was set up very carefully. And that is the system that is currently going to be overthrown, that is being overthrown by the White Hat Alliance. And so this is something that people don't want to talk about, because they believe that it's a Republican Democrat reality, that it's the Tories versus the liberals, Tories versus Labor, that it's the Knesset, the Likud versus Labor Party. It's not. Those are minions. And the cabal has minions in every party all over the place. And so that's why the White Hat Alliance has to work has to work so hard to ferret out those minions and to fight so hard to overthrow this system that we are basically under, that we are ruled under by the elite powers in control. And we need to get rid of them. We need to overthrow them. And that war is going on right now. Leon Isaac Kennedy called it a cosmic chess match that we are in. And that is true because there are powers all up and down the line that are involved in this war. But, we only see the physical permutations of it, the material permutations of it here on Earth and in this political system that says to us, oh, look at this thing. Look at this, what just happened. We have this impeachment hearing where it's the Democrats trying to get the Republican, they're trying to get Donald Trump, and this is happening and it's going towards the election. But that's not really what's happening. What's happening is the cabal is trying to go in there, use their minions, their globalist minions, who are Democrats and Republicans, and try to destroy this revolution, try to destroy this overthrow of them and their authority before it even begins, before it really gets going. Right. And so that's part. And this is a war that we are involved in that there's not going to be any fence sitters. We are going to have to eventually come out as supporting one side or the other. No one on earth is going to be left that can sit on the fence because this is a global war that is, it's a cosmic chess piece. It's a cosmic chess match also. And it's something that everyone is going to have to take sides on, and we're all going to have to come out at some point for what we think, for what we believe. And it's hard. That's a hard reality for people in alternative communities, because people in alternative communities always believe that they're very often believe that they're above politics. Well, like I said, again, we have to train ourselves. This isn't really politics. Politics is the theater that has been placed over us to deceive us. This is actually fight for human survival, and for human survival away from the cabal. That's what we're in right now. And we need to be able to talk about it openly, and we need to be able to call what it is, and face it boldly, and be able to embrace it. And so that's, to me, that was the most shocking thing in Above Majestic, when Roger actually showed the White Hat Alliance. He showed Trump, and he showed the generals and the other leaders, and he showed what they're doing and how it's working, and how we need to help in this situation wherever we can. And that to me was the most amazing thing about Above Majestic, because I hadn't seen anybody else who ever dared to do that sort of thing.
Yeah, Roger understands the critical nature and the critical time that we're in, and there's just time's up. You know what I mean? Time is up, and if we don't face all facets now, the facets will come for us. You know?
Exactly. Exactly.
And yeah, no, that's why I think both Roger was the one in his interview that coined, or maybe somebody had said it to him and he was just communicating this, but Above Majestic and the Cosmic Secret is truly the ultimate red pill, right. Because this cosmic chess match, we are in spiritual warfare, and right. Spiritual warfare, the spiritual war that we are unknowingly, for the majority of humanity in, the spiritual warfare is happening on the political, on the financial, on the spiritual, on all of the planes. It's all the same thing, because we're the battle really is for our soul, to put it kind of dramatically, but also, in a way that a lot of people can understand. The battle really is for our soul, because it's this ascension thing. It's this ascension process that's trying to be quashed, and so it is playing out on every facet of reality as we know it today. And I think that you're absolutely correct, John, as far as just being brave enough to have the conversations and to discuss it and to, be open about our differences, because clearly the biggest, the political Trump administration scenario is the world stage right now, because of, what they have, the character assassination, like the operation that's been enacted against him as a person in this administration is so over the top. Like once you're awake and you kind of know their tactics, like it's so blatant, because you're just like, they're not even trying to hide it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because they're playing their last card. They really are playing their last card.
Yeah. And it's an operation against us. Correct. Against us as Americans. That's really what it is. It just happens to be that he's in the way. That's all, because he is at the leadership of that White Hat Alliance. Mm-hmm. And so they need to destroy him. Not because he's president of the United States. Really, it's not because of that. It's because he is the leader of this worldwide alliance that is in the process of overthrowing cabal control. That's what it is. And that's how we need to start translating this to people who are just in that political paradigm, like, hey, you're a MAGA person, or you're this or that, and it's not about that. It's about survival and ascension of humanity that we are, it's happening right now, or like you said, or it won't happen right now. Right. So we have to decide. Absolutely.
And I think one of the things that's really great, I know just anecdotally, my personal experience with the whole President Trump situation, I came from the other side as far as, I'm vegan and I'm, I rescue animals and I drive a Prius, and you know what I mean? I was kind of like that girl, so for somebody like me to switch over and support the president, like I've always kind of just stood in it and hoped that it made people question, wait, you? Why? What's going on? You know what I mean? So if we can all just kind of stand in our truth and hopefully have it helps people that are ready gravitate towards asking the bigger questions, like, Kaylin, how did you go from this person over here and now you're over here? You know what I mean? So I really think that it's a good way if we in the community that are awakened to a lot of this bigger information, and we do understand the spiritual warfare, and we do understand, that the president and the White Hat Alliance are what is standing in between us and the cabal, us and the bad guys. If we can kind of stand in our truth, and let people ask questions and be willing to have the conversation, I think that that's one little thing that we can do as the community, because it's such a triggering topic. It really, really is.
Exactly. I would love to have a campaign for us to start addressing Donald Trump as, instead of as president, as leader of the White Hat Alliance, and just try to communicate that that's a more honored title than president of the United States, so that people can understand what his real role is in all of this that we're facing. And that sounds pretty extreme, but it's something that it's real. It's real. I'm going sometime this year, I think September, I'm going to Brazil with Corey. Corey is also going to Brazil, and we're doing presentations there. And one of the funny things is that we got this invitation to go to Brazil, and Brazil just happens to be the President Bolsonaro, who joined the White Hat Alliance as soon as he got into office. And he's the president of Brazil. Mm-hmm. And it's an amazing coincidence that somehow we made all of this happen for us to go there. Out of all the countries, that's the place that we decided to go. And now we're getting all kinds of contacts from Bolsonaro's office that says that he's going to do some things with us. And it's amazing. It's an amazing coincidence, but it's just something really good that just shows this guy, as soon as he got into office, first thing he did was he called Trump and he said, I want to join the White Hat Alliance. I want to do exactly what you've done. And he literally said to Trump, I want the blueprint that all of you guys have used to overthrow cabal institutions, and I want you to give it to me. And I'm sure, Trump was kind of overwhelmed by the phone call, because after the phone call, he said he asked me for a lot of stuff, but I'll try to give it to him as time goes on. But
Sure.
it was a lot of stuff, and Trump was just kind of taken off guard by Bolsonaro. First of all, by Bolsonaro winning this, because the cabal tried to kill him. They sent some people to stab him to death, and they were almost successful. They're very close. And but no, now he's in there, and he is changing Brazil from top to bottom. And the cabal is very, very upset. So yeah, that's good news. It's good stuff. Very important stuff.
Yay! I got the chills. I want to do a little happy dance. That's amazing, because Brazilians, I have a connection to Brazil from years and years ago, but they're just some of the most beautiful, passionate, joy-filled people. Like, if there is a culture on earth that can raise the vibration of this planet, it's Brazilians. Nice. I'm telling you, just by dancing, they could do it.
Oh, you should come with us, Kaylin, when it's time.
I'll get on the phone with Corey after the interview.
Yeah.
Everybody needs their social media manager to go on all of their international travels with them.
There you go.
No, Brazil really is amazing. And have you ever been to Brazil, John?
Not yet. No,
that's why I'm so excited for you. Yeah. You will love it. That really, like, it's almost overwhelming just how happy of a people that they are, but in the best way. Nice. So I'm really happy to hear personally that they have a leader in there that is on our side. That's great.
Oh yeah.
Yay.
That's awesome.
All righty. So John, I just want to open it up to you. Was there any other topics that you wanted to bring up right now, or that you wanted to? We still have a little bit of time if you'd like to present anything here.
Oh, I just want people to be aware that these things are happening, that we have these transitions that we are coming up on are manifesting every day in the news, but it's all always under different labels, under very low to the ground labels. And what we're really seeing is that global conflict that we talked about, and it's happening, and it's coming up, and that's why we need to get out and talk to each other as much as possible, and spread this information so that people can share amongst themselves and start to change their filters that they use to examine these topics everywhere.
And John, do you have any personal practices that you utilize as far as inner work, ascension, anything kind of along those lines? Is there any guidance that you want to share?
Yeah, I have, I always follow my practices that come from my book, The Clear Hearers. I work with the voice of my higher self that sits in the presence of God and communicates with me and gives me guidance and support, uplifts me all the time. And it's a clear hearing process. That's what I call it. It's a voice that is perceived, not heard, but perceived. Loud, clear messages, usually short messages. And so that's a practice that I pursue developing always, and I try to teach other people how to develop it in themselves also. That's something that always helps me.
And you said you wrote a book about it, and that's called The Clear Hearer?
Yes, The Clear Hearers. It's
Clear Hearers.
Right behind me here.
Yes, please show us.
It's The Clear Hearers, and it is an investigative file of how clear hearing works, what it is, who have been historic figures that have been clear hearers, like Joan of Arc and many others. It used to be called clairaudience, but I have given it a new name to anglicize it from the French term clairaudient. And so now that's a practice that I pursue and that I develop in myself, and I develop it in others also as well.
Awesome. We will definitely have a link to that and in the post when we're done here. So John, do you have a website, or so what are some links that the audience can find you and your work? And
my website is johntamabooks.com. johntamaBooks.com, which is John, John, T like Tom, A-M like Mary, A, books.com. That's my website. You can always, you can buy my books on my website. Of course, you can also buy on Amazon as well. But it's better if you buy directly from the author. And so I have that. And I have, I don't know if is it time for plugs yet?
Sure. Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, plug away.
I'll be appearing on Jenny McCarthy's show on Sirius XM Radio Wednesday, December 11th at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That'll be Jenny McCarthy show. I'm having a conference, Codes of Awakening, January 10th to the 12th, 2020, in Orlando, Florida. And I'll be appearing with Jason Quitt and Brad Johnson. And that's going to be a phenomenal conference. And of course, my site is johntamaBooks.com. If you buy books through me, you get a 20% discount. My marketer is made a note for me to say that. Oh, I'm also appearing on Rex Bear Leak Project, one of the most popular channels on YouTube, on December 10th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'm sure I have many other things that I don't have here that are coming up, like my Brazil conference with Corey. I think that's in September. And so that should be pretty phenomenal too, especially if you go with us, Kaylin.
I agree. And I might have to get you on the line when I make that call to Corey, and we'll just we'll campaign together.
Excellent. Double team
them. Well, you are a very busy worker. You're a very hard worker, very busy bee. And I think that's fantastic. Is there a place where you post your events that have coming up? Can they follow you on Facebook or Twitter or? Yes,
please. And let me shout out John Smarty Mendez, because I do invite people always. My Facebook is John DeSouza, Facebook, my Twitter, John X DeSouza, Twitter. And my events are always on my website, johntamaBooks.com. And I always welcome people to follow me on Twitter and Facebook, and see all of my events are always posted there as well. And that's very important stuff, because these events, we do these events for the people that we're trying to reach and that we're trying to help. And that's so important, especially at a time like now, when the cabal and the total control society is fighting back by trying to censor us with all of the assets that they own, which they own. What assets do they own? They own all the social media giants. And they are trying to fight back against us by censoring us, by shutting down our channels, by shutting down our videos. And so it's especially important now that we're facing this Orwellian fascist type of clamping down on us. It's especially important now that people support us and help us, and, view our products, view Roger Richards movies, buy them, share them, and do these things, because the empire is striking back and it is trying to suppress us. And this is a period, we're kind of thinking that the White Hat Alliance is gonna kick ass on a lot of these social media giants to help us, and we're hoping that does happen, but it hasn't happened yet. Mm-hmm. So in this interim period, people, we need to support each other. We need to support each other and help each other moving forward.
No, you bring up a critical point, John, and that is, I'll do a little shameless promotion myself, but it's relevant. On Cosmic Table Talk, we just aired our second episode a few weeks ago, and it was on censorship in alternative media. And we had Shem El Jamal from Discerning the Mystery, Rob Counts, Ben Chasteen from Edge of Wonder, and we just had a roundtable regarding the censorship and, really kind of connecting the dots, basically, of the evidence of how it's happening, but also really trying to discuss ways that we don't have to just be victims. We can, everybody watching this interview right now, anybody that attends conferences, literally with, my background is social media. So it's all about engagement. Engagement can help kind of manipulate the algorithm, like, comment, share, just do something with it and it will push it out. And, they can build oppression into the algorithm, but the algorithm is still the algorithm. So the more that we just engage with the content across all social platforms, even if you think nobody's seeing your share, because all of our friends and family have stopped interacting with our stuff because they think we're crazy conspiracy theorists. We've all had that part of our journey, but just sharing it for the pure fact to get John's information to reach a further audience. It really is up to us. We really are the ones we've been waiting for. And yes. And yeah, no, please engage with this information. Even if you don't feel comfortable telling other people about it, just like the posts or put a little comment, a heart, an emoji, an alien face, whatever makes sense. But even the smallest gesture can really help in this suppression age of information.
Exactly. Because we're the Minutemen out there, fighting for liberty, fighting for freedom. And, and I include also all the Q people as well. We're in this fight. We're pushing this stuff forward. And General Flynn, he said a long time ago, we are all going to be digital soldiers on this cyber command structure. And we are going to be, sometimes one of us will be taken out here and there. And we need to make sure that 3 more replace that fallen comrade when it happens. And so that's what I want to see. I want to see us pushing this forward with so many people, so many vibrant, creative people that even if one of us gets our channel shut down, whatever, we're going to have more people replacing that fallen comrade when it does happen.
Absolutely. And, throwing each other over our shoulders and putting your content on our channels, and you know what I mean? Right. And just, no, we really are the militia, and that's what it's going to take. That is what it's going to take to win back this planet and our sovereignty. Yeah. So.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't have used the word militia. Now the algos have got us big time. But it's okay.
We just wave to those watching us, and all the big tech companies and the underground bunkers, and we always give them a shout out too, because we know they're watching and listening. Yeah, wishing they could be us.
They are, yeah. And the clowns in America are also they're always watching.
Yeah,
always listening.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. All right, John. Well, I hope everybody watches this interview. I'm going to do my best to get it all over across all of our pages, because, I said it earlier and I'll repeat it again. I really think that your role in this war is critical. And I adore you as a human being, and you are so heart-centered, and you have such authenticity and, compassion for all of us, that you deliver the information well. The investigative part, it really is a critical facet. And so thank you so much for living out your mission and living it in, authentically, and being willing to, take up this banner and fight with the rest of us. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Kaylin. And thank you for being the hardest working woman in show business.
In disclosure biz.
Yes, you are something. So
well, thank you so much, John. Okay, guys. Well, again, thank you for joining us. I've got a bunch of notes. I've started writing on my computer directly because I'm taking notes, so I can get a lot of links and websites and different things that John brought up, so that you guys can do some further research on your own. So we are still working on some more Facebook Live interviews. We should have some more coming up this week. As soon as I know, I'll let everybody know on all of our Facebook pages. So thank you again for joining. Oh, one last thing. The Cosmic Secret is now available to rent. That's
awesome.
Yay. So it is available to rent on iTunes, Amazon, and Vimeo. And guys, I will have a new sneak peek trailer that we have up here shortly, as well as some links to the rentals. So
Awesome.
yeah, and I'll send that information to you too, John.
Thank you. I need that actually.
Yeah, you got it.
Cool.
All righty, guys. Well, thank you again so much, and we will see you on the next interview.
Thanks, Kaylin. Thanks, audience. You guys are awesome.